This is a paper I wrote in English 111 in the summer of 2018. It's called Robots Will Not Take All the Jobs. For the last several hundred years, there has been an unjustified fear that advances in technology will bring about destitution despite a mountain of evidence and logic to the contrary. The idea that technological developments will eventually replace all workers, leaving everyone unemployed and impoverished, seems plausible on the surface. Occupations such as a switchboard operator or a lamplighter have been rendered obsolete due to technological advances, resulting in the displacement of these workers. If the analysis stops there, one could come to the conclusion that advancements lead to unemployment. A deeper analysis, however, leads to a much different conclusion. In the book Economics in One Lesson, Henry Hazlitt reduces the subject of economics into one sentence. Quote, "The art of economics consists in looking not merely at the immediate, but at the longer effects of any act or policy. It consists in tracing the consequences of that policy not merely for one group, but for all groups." End quote. When the consequences of the introduction of automation and other technological advances are traced for all groups, the after effects will show that net employment is unharmed and in many cases is increased. Automation and technological advances increase the productivity of labor, thereby increasing real wages and overall demand, resulting in new job creation and an increase in the standard of living. When an inventor developed a cotton spinning machine, the invention was opposed on the grounds that it would throw textile tradesmen out of work. In this case, those opposed could not have been more wrong. Hazlitt points out that in 1760 there were 7,900 spinners and weavers employed in England's cotton textile industry. 27 years after the introduction of this new invention, England's cotton industry employment figures had risen from 7,900 to 320,000. A deeper analysis can shed some light on how this came to be. The invention had drastically increased the amount of material that a single worker could have produced previously, thereby decreasing the cost of production. The result of an increased supply at lower production cost, combined with competition between different manufacturers, caused the price of cotton goods to decrease. These lower costs incentivized consumers and manufacturers to increase consumption of the cotton goods. A manufacturer who must decide between two materials to produce a particular good is encouraged to pick the cheaper input to gain a competitive advantage over competitors. As rival companies followed suit, competition between manufacturers will tend to bring prices down. These lower consumer goods prices then allow demand for final products to increase dramatically, which accounts for the massive increase in employment in cotton textiles. The end result is an increase in real wages and the standard of living. It is worth pointing out that this helps the poor the most. Someone who could not previously afford to replace old worn-out clothing is now able, or someone with only one set of clothing could now afford several. There are examples where technological advances were proprietary. Competitors had no access to the new technology and therefore could not compete and drive prices down. The owner of the new technology could simply keep prices up and keep all the profits. Hazlitt explains how this too will contribute to further employment. The profiteer could reinvest in the company, invest in another company, spend on consumption, or save the profits. By reinvesting the profits, a company will expand and provide opportunities for additional employment. If more machines are purchased, then more workers are required to build, operate, maintain, and repair them. If the money is spent on consumption, then this too is increasing demand in other areas of the economy. The increased demand in these other areas will also create employment in the same way that reinvestment does as these industries expand. Saving the profits in the bank provides the capital necessary for banks to make loans. These loans can be for expanding and creating new businesses or for consumption. Either way, this expansion leads to economic growth and additional employment opportunities. With technological advancements, there may be less demand for labor in the area that the machines can now do. An analysis of agriculture over the last several hundred years shows the exact opposite trend in employment that is seen in the cotton industry example. In an article titled "The Good News They Are Not Telling You," historian Tom Woods points out that, quote, "In the past, most people worked on farms, and automation took away 99% of those jobs. Literally 99%. They're gone," end quote. In an article titled "Farmers in the Land," D.M. Spielmaker states that in 1790, farmers made up 90% of the entire workforce. If almost 90% of all jobs have been replaced by automation, unemployment figures should be approaching 90%, but that is not the case. As with the example of cotton, the increased productivity of labor in agriculture through competition and new technology led to decreases in the price of food. This is the same as saying that the increased productivity led to an increase in real wages for all people who like to eat. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, average workers in 1901 spent 42.5% of their income on food. Just 100 years later, the percentage of income spent on food had fallen to 13.2%. This leaves a worker with more expendable income, and this is where the new employment is created. There were no yoga instructors or baristas in the 1800s because the average person spent the majority of his or her income on basic needs, and there was little left for anything else. As Tom Woods explains, quote, "People wound up with brand new jobs they could have never anticipated, and in pursuing those jobs we might even argue that we have become more human, because we diversified, because we found a niche for ourselves that was unique to us. Automation is going to make it possible for human beings to do work that is more fulfilling," end quote. Automation is what made possible the 5-day work week. Instead of buying more goods, a modern worker can now choose to work less instead. This is only possible with an increase in real wages as a result of advances in the productivity of labor. As technology continues to improve, there is every reason to suggest that people will begin to work less, leaving more time to pursue their passions. In a TED Talk titled "The Magic Washing Machine," Dr. Hans Rosling explains that the magic in a washing machine. Quote, "You load the laundry, and what do you get out of the machine? You get books out of the machines, children's books, and Mother got time to read for me," end quote. Rosling explains that his mother would spend many hours doing laundry by hand before they got a washing machine. This labor-saving device gave his mother the time to take young Hans to the library and help put him on the track to success. Rosling ends the talk with, quote, "Thank you, industrialization. Thank you, steel mill. Thank you, power station. And thank you, chemical processing industry, that gave us time to read books." It is true that automation and technology may cause workers in a particular field to be displaced, but in terms of total jobs, there will continue to be plenty of work for humans to do. Job creation is only limited by one's imagination. Today, there are professional video game players, podcasters, app developers, and many other opportunities that one could not have dreamed of just 20 years ago. The abundance and prosperity that is the direct result of technology and automation will liberate workers from countless mundane tasks and allow mankind the opportunity to pursue more creative and fulfilling occupations. Thanks for watching.